let's get the Southland out of the way. We have Southland March 9th through the 12th in Katy, Texas. 8-team tournament. Nicholls and Sela, Southeast Louisiana, have double buys. Texas A&M, Corpus Christi, and New Orleans have single buys. Before we get in, another trivia question. This one I don't think that you'll ever get, but I'll throw it out there. Which team has the most Southland titles in its history?
It's does it have to still be in the league, or is it this ever? Okay, then I will say UT, either Arlington or San Antonio. I'll go with Arlington.
Not a bad guess, but it's you're in the right conference. It's actually Northeast Louisiana, which became UL Monroe.
Yeah, had no chance.
So yeah, no one. I didn't know that. I had to look it up.
Yeah. I wrote this up for the Action site, and I was going through the historical winners, and I was like, oh, UTSA won a Southland title, UT Arlington. So that's the only reason I even knew Arlington could be a guess.
Well, speaking of the craziness of Southland, last year's champion is no longer in the conference. Abilene Christian won it as a 2 seed last year. By the way, I think we have to talk about that Houston Baptist McNeese State game, 4 overtime game, one of the worst beats I've ever seen. McNeese was plus 2, plus 3. They had a game-winning 3, but a kid ran onto the court and they got a technical. Then it went to 4 overtimes and they lost by 5. Not the best strategy by those teams, by the way, ahead of the conference tournament, where they have to win 4 games in 4 days to go 4 overtimes on Saturday.
117 possessions. Yeah, that's not advisable to play like a game and a half instead of 1 game.
Yeah. I take it. So let's see. I mean, Nicholls State's the favorite. They're plus 115. Last tourney appearance for Nicholls, 1998. New Orleans plus 390. Sela plus 500. McNeese 17-1. Then you're getting down to like Houston Baptist 23-1. Northwestern State 27-1. I just pulled these from one book. Obviously, prices are going to vary. Nicholls State is the favorite. They're the team that I think is clearly the best in this conference. I mean, we saw them earlier this year. They competed at TCU. They competed at Wisconsin. One of the things that really scares me about them, they did get triple swept by Southeast Louisiana. They played in like a neutral non-conference conference tournament.
It was at the same building. They played in Katy, Texas. So everybody's got familiarity here.
Good point there. The thing that scares me, I had them at Nicholls in the latest game, and they were up by like 23 in the second half and lost by 2. And it wasn't. I don't even think this was part of the reason. Yeah, they were only 4 of 8 from the line, but they are horrendous at the free throw line, which scares me with Nicholls State. They're like 62%. Just something to throw out there. But I think they're the best team in the conference. I don't know if I'm running to bet plus 115 now, but do you think that they're the clear class, and is that the side, or is there a long shot worth investing? What's your thoughts on this bracket?
I think they're the clear favorite, but I like you. I don't really like the price. One thing to note on the free throw percentage, I think usually a lot of those teams that are terrible at the line are because one guy is like 40%, but they just have everybody on their team shoots 60%. Like they don't have 2 good free throw guys to give it too late because no one on their team is efficient at the line. So yeah, that is a huge problem.
They got a couple guys that are in like the 40s and 30s too.
Yes,
they don't have a high volume, but it's like I just go look at their roster and their free throw percentage. It's stunning. You don't have at the end of a game, you don't have a guard to throw it to that's like your one guard that can hit 85%, even if the rest of your team, like the Memphis teams, like they would have at least one guard. They don't have any. But yeah.
So the preseason tournament or whatever, they played in early January. Southeastern Louisiana won that one because they shot 50% from 3 over 3 games. They were 40 for 79 over that span, which obviously probably not repeatable, but they did triple sweep Nicholls. And I think that's a point worth noting because Sela also ended up getting the double bye because New Orleans lost on the final day to Nicholls. They dropped from the 1 to the 3. And that kind of sets up well for Sela that they don't have to play Nicholls till the final. Price wise, though, nothing really excited me here. I feel like the lines are kind of around where I would put them. None of the long shots playing that opening day have any intrigue to me whatsoever. I think all 4 of those teams are bad. None of them are going to win 4 in 4 days. So it probably comes down to Nicholls. I don't have an exciting future bet here, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, Texas A&M Corpus Christi was intriguing earlier in the season. They were a really surprising team and kind of jumped up the analytical metrics and power rating systems across the board. Because I mean, some people, what did they probably started at like 346 or something on KenPom. They were like considered maybe a bottom 10 team. They were better than expected, but they kind of faded down the stretch. And I think some of the teams kind of figured out Corpus Christi. Is that kind of your thoughts on them? I mean, they did end up winning 4 of 5 to close the year. But again, you play some bad teams in this league.
Right. Well, and Lutz is their new coach, first-year coach, is a Matt Painter guy coming off the staff at Purdue. So a system that maybe you get better at defending the second time you see it because it's a lot of motion, a lot of off-ball action. So perhaps some of the teams that get better. The one thing I do like, and maybe this is kind of getting into the specific matchup stuff, is they're 7-3 against the spread as a dog. They were really good in the non-con against power conference teams. And so I kind of like them if they get to the semifinals, even though they'll be playing a second game in 2 days, whether they're looking at the bracket, they'll be playing Nicholls. I think they can kind of hang around as a dog in that one. So that's one like specific matchup angle I'm looking at, but their future plus 700 or so, that seems fair. Like I don't have a strong value take there.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, the difference for me, even though they did get triple swept, is like Nicholls State has a decent offense and a decent defense for this squad. I mean, I think they're the best offense. And you could argue CELA is the best offense, not by much, but CELA's defense is just terrible. Like just horrendous. And then you have, some other teams where it's like, their offense is good, but their defense. So I just think Nicholls is the most solid across the board.
And probably has the best player too, which helps.
Yep. And if you're not familiar with the Southland, a lot of pace. These teams want to play faster outside of Incarnate Word, who likes to crawl. But there's a lot of pace. And then you mentioned, so here's a curious angle. We'll get into some, because I agree, there's not much value from a futures perspective. You said that they play, same building, and they played that random conference tournament, non-conference conference tournament in the middle of the year that didn't count towards their conference record. Same building, a lot of pace in this conference. Familiarity is the potential for some overs here. Is there anything in the first, some of the first round matchups that intrigue you or anything there?
I think overs are worth a look there. The one thing I remember, and I the last 2 games of that tournament, I blind bet the unders on the third day because clearly like the teams had kind of run out of gas. And I think all 4 unders hit on the third day of the tournament. So if you get a couple teams playing third game in 3 days, if you get some upsets in the final, I think unders are worth a look, but the early rounds are heavy overs. The teams shot really well in this gym in that preseason tournament, CELA especially, but other teams did as well. So I think early overs, and then when the legs go, final round, maybe you get an inflated number because of the early rounds, then you bet the under in the final.
Yeah, I'd be curious. I would definitely prefer it with Northwestern State and McNeese, but I mean, look, you have to worry about the legs for Houston Baptist and the legs for McNeese. Incarnate Word wants to crawl it, so maybe there's more questions than I thought. I mean, let's see, Incarnate Word, Houston Baptist, their games were 82-68 and 68-65 this year. And then Northwestern and McNeese, 80-75 and 93-84. And by the way, legs can also hurt you on defense. So I think I might prefer the Northwestern State, McNeese State over. Anything from a side perspective, or no? We're dealing with dregs here, so.
Yeah, I mean, the first day, like McNeese is the only one that's not a complete dumpster fire. So maybe they're worth a look if they're dialed in. Like they have some transfers from like VCU and Southern Illinois, like some pretty decent down transfers that can actually be solid. So I think if they actually play to their level, they're a category above their opening round opponent.